Good morning, all. I came from Southern California, where I located, and it's a little bit nippy here, but for an open water swimmer, that's good. What you're seeing here, I just wanted to get you used to open water swimming at the highest level. This is the video footage from the 2009 World Swimming Championships, and this is a 5K race with women in the Mediterranean. And what I do is very similar to what a football coach does, is I just look at this video over and over again, and I analyze different things. And in my talk, I'll explain the different tactics that are used. And I always tell our American swimmers, which I coach, that open water swimming is like an onion. Every time you peel, every time you think you know something, you peel another onion, and there's another layer down there. And just so you know, since we're watching this video, you see different packs form. Different packs will form in triathlon. Different packs will form always in an open water swim. And it gets so subtle as to, I teach our athletes, what is the shape of the pack? What is the beat of the kick? Because every time in open water swimming, and obviously in triathlon or any multi-sport event where you're in the water, your vision is limited. You don't know where you're going, you don't know how far exactly, and these are the type of little clues that are very useful for you in the open water. Some athletes who've been swimming all their lives just hate the open water. They just don't like no lines, no walls, no pace clock, no anything. Other athletes love the open water. They love the freedom of the open water. They love having no lines. They love having no walls. When you have a black line, when you have a wall that's every 25 yards or 50 meters, certain things happen to you physiologically. In the open water, it's much, much different. We also teach the kids, I put them on the shoreline, and I ask the kids, close your eyes and swim 100 strokes. They close their eyes, they swim 100 strokes. And I had this one he was a finalist in NCAA in the 1650 and 500, and he was a great swimmer. And he swam 100 strokes, and he did this gigantic U, and by the time he hit his 100th stroke, he was exactly straight. He comes up, he goes, "Coach, I swam straight." I said, "Yes, but you did it in a gigantic circle." Some people veer left, some people veer right. And when I teach these kids, hey, that is, you need to know if you naturally veer right or left. We've even done studies on where exactly do you draft. And it's always been there have been people who have researched drafting in various positions, conditions, etc. According to my research, the best place to draft is exactly where this person is here, if the person is kicking fast. So for example, if you think of geese or any birds flying, they're always flying in formation. And there's a body of work about people who study the way birds fly. And in the open water, that is exactly how you should swim in a draft. Quite often, some people advocate swimming right behind an athlete, just right on their feet, a few feet behind. That's good. You do get benefit of the draft. However, you're also lifting up your head every time. And in a 2.4 mile swim, if you lift up your head every 15 to 20 yards, you're effectively lifting 0.9 tons of weight. Your head weighs approximately 11 pounds, 10 pounds, and if you're lifting it up every 15 to 20 yards, you are lifting up a tremendous amount of weight over a 2.4 mile swim. When you lift up your head, your hips drop, your feet drop, your efficiency in the water, your water resistance drops. So given this fact, given the fact that birds fly very efficiently in a formation, you do want to be between the hip and the lower ankle of someone drafting. It has a variety of benefits. You want to be on your predominantly breathing side. So if this microphone were a swimmer and I breathe to my left, this is where I want to be. If I'm a primary right breather, I want to be on this side. These are the little subtleties that we teach the kids, and the reason why is at the end of this race, watch, this is the end of the race. That's how close Olympic gold, silver, bronze, and other positions are. This is just the last previous photo where if you're swimming or you're swimming with somebody and you notice that they're lifting up their head to sight, and it's your educated guess that they're going in the right direction, just draft off them. Let them lift up your head. You're going to save a lot of energy. And you can utilize that energy either for the end of the race or for your bike and run legs. I think you all know this particular feeling here, where you're just in the middle of a lot of different people. Again, where, depending on what your goals are, I always teach our athletes, think about exactly where you want to be in the pack, 5 yards from the start, 500 yards from the start, and 1K from the start. And that actually depends on where you are standing at the starting line. It's a little trick that I tell the kids, but it actually does work. I always tell the kids, if you want to be in the front and you have a bunch of people, you literally just be the last person, the slowest person in warm-up, and you just back up to the starting line. If you want to be on the right side because you're a left-handed breather, then go to the left, to the right. If you're a right-handed breather, be on the left side of the pack so you can actually watch everybody. It is actually true that when you go out for a swim, I call it the Congo line, you have the lead boat, you have the lead swimmers, and then everybody else basically follows. If you view an open water swimmer triathlon from an aerial view, 90% of the people are going in the right direction. There are always what I call the outliers who are veering left or veering right, but most of the people are going in the right direction most of the time. So if you're a little confused, if you're a little bit lost, if you're a little bit nervous, I always just tell people, look to your left and look to your right. You should have about 50% of the people to this side and about 50% of the people. If you have 300 people here and 3 people here, chances are you're off. So again, if you're, the best thing to do, and for these young athletes who come, is I said, join the Congo line. Just get in line if you're nervous. This is a very good shot. I'm sorry, it's small. It's an American and it's a Russian. And the Russians are very, very savvy in open water swimming. This is the end of a 25K race, so it was about 5 hours and 10 minutes. And the Russian just constantly, he breathed to the left, and he had the American in the sights the whole time. He, over 25K, 15.5 miles, he rarely lifted up his head to watch. He just let the American lift up his head and watch. Again, these are little things. If you can get away from lifting up your head, dropping your hips, then do so. This is the Olympic, or 2008 Olympic gold medalist. He's doing backstroke in the middle of the race, toward the end of the race. Now when I saw him do this, I go, God, what is he doing? Why is he going backstroke to figure out what he's doing? He was just a very smart, cagey guy. He was not only, he understood what the athletes were ahead of him, he wanted to know what was happening behind me. He wanted to triangulate the last buoy that he just went to the finish. And sometimes he just would swim, turn over on his back. As he turns over on his back, he actually glances behind him, mentally estimating where he needs to go once he goes over on his feet. Likewise, when there are newcomers to the sport, I always advocate, you don't always have to swim freestyle. If you're confused, if you don't know where you're going, if you want a little bit of reassurance, do a few breaststroke strokes. Just look up and see where you're going. You're not going to lose that much time. The confidence and the assurance that you will get in doing a few breaststroke with your head up, just glance around, is okay. If you turn around and the water's a little bit cold or you're a little bit confused, go over on your back. Gain a few breaths of air. It will actually benefit you. Where you position yourself in a race in the beginning of a triathlon or beginning of open water swim is different than the middle part of the race or the end part of the race. You definitely don't want to be boxed in. You all know that feeling where there's someone in front of you, behind you, left and right. That's definitely not where you want to be. You also actually don't even want to be in a position that may be effectively a good one. This, on the face of it, is a very good position. She is right at the knees. She's drafting quite well. But in this particular photo, the buoy was over on this side. So again, what I teach the athletes is you need to be thinking about or preparing for the next buoy turn as soon as you make one buoy turn. You're setting up just like a cyclist, just like a car racer, a car driver, setting up the next buoy turn every single time. Sometimes you have left shoulder buoy turns, meaning you're going around a buoy with your left shoulder or the right shoulder. A lot of people don't focus on their legs, especially in triathlon. I mean, you got a long way to go on a bike and a long way to go on the run, and you do want to save your legs. But working on your legs is very critical. And the reason why is if you kick properly, even if it's a slow 2-beat kick, you are much more streamlined and you're reducing the water resistance against you. One way that you can actually help yourself, instead of doing the traditional kicking horizontally with a kickboard, kick vertical. Take up a lot less space in a pool, and it's pretty hard. When you kick vertically, you do your regular butterfly kick. Try not to bend your knees. Keep your knees as straight as you can, because the greatest freestylers in the world actually do kick from their core. They're actually using their entire leg. They're not just bending their knees and flutter kicking. They're actually using their entire surface of the leg to generate propulsion. And when you're doing vertical kick in a pool, you also want to kick using your entire leg. You will find it is difficult, it is aerobically challenging, but it also helps you learn how to kick efficiently and in a streamlined manner. If you can, my point is, if you don't have access to the open water, that's okay. You could still replicate different things that are beneficial for you in the open water. One of the things that I always advocate to our kids, and they don't like it, is what I call prime number sets. We're all accustomed to doing 10 100s on 2 minutes, 10 100s on 130. It's very easy to keep track of the interval in a pool. I like doing 7 100s on 123. I like doing 9 100s descended 1 through 3, with the intervals being 119, 115, and 107. Because you have to think really hard when you're swimming. It's really difficult for you to say, all right, push off the wall, I'm going to do 9 100s on 123. Okay, I know the first one is on 123. What's the second one on? Okay, that's not too bad. That's 46. Okay, now what's the third one on? And what I like to do when you're in the pool, to always challenge yourself mentally. And if you're challenging yourself mentally, even if it's just calculating your intervals, you're training yourself so when you get out in the open water, you're actually thinking all the time. And if we just shut off our minds, which is okay, shut off our minds and just go comfortably, that's okay. If you want to be competitive, you need to always be calculating, thinking, strategizing, about where your position is relative to your competition, relative to the elements, whether it's rough water, currents are going left, right, currents be pushing you. You have to be thinking and calculating all these things, and it's helpful if you can do prime number sets in a pool. There are, and again, I apologize if it's small, there are, just like John Wooden's pyramid of success, we have a similar thing in open water, and we call it the 7 essentials of open water success. And it's, after this, I could go on for 2 hours, and I usually do, about what coaches should do. But if you have any questions afterwards, I can go over the details of this pyramid. Oh, yes, I will say, yes, okay. The base of the pyramid is base training, which is just your fundamental get out there and do a long, slow swim or long, slow run. Just get your body accustomed to swimming, 1.2 miles, 2.4 miles, 5K, 10K, whatever it is. The second part is very, very important. That's speed training. It's basically interval work where you're picking up your speed, where you're actually using your kick and going fast. And the reason why that is important, even if you're a slow swimmer, there are times in a race or triathlon where you just need to move position. You might be boxed in, you may be way outside on a turn buoy, and even if you're not a fast swimmer, you still need to gain some position on your competitors. And that kind of speed training is what I'm talking about. You just want to remember, when you're going around a buoy and there's lots of people, all you need is one stroke to gain an advantageous position in order to go around that turn buoy once, ahead of the other athletes. The other part of the base is distance tolerance. Distance tolerance is if you have to swim a 2.4 mile swim or you have to swim a 5K swim, just build up your body to swim that. Generally, if you can swim 60 to 70% of your goal swim distance, you can do it in a competition. Race-specific training is very, very important. Race-specific training are things like what I call paceline. Paceline, which we'll see, I have some pictures here, is instead of, when you're in a pool, instead of having if you have 5 people in lane and you go 5 seconds apart and you're doing 10 100s freestyle, for open water that makes no sense. For open water training or triathlon, it makes a lot more sense to do 1,000 yards. So instead of going 10 100s, you go 1,000 yards. Instead of going 5 seconds apart, you go 1 second apart, and you follow each other, and the first person leads at a very good pace for 100 yards, then stops. Then the other 4 people in the lane continue the same rotation, and the leader now falls back in the back, just like you would do in cycling, because that is a thing that you do in open water. Drafting is a big part of open water. That's what you should do in a pool. Skill training is the skills that you need in open water. Lifting up your head, navigating. In the case of a swim that's over an hour, it should also include feeding. All of you as triathletes, you know gel packs, you know hydration, et cetera, et cetera. Well, in the open water, ideally, you're feeding every 12 to 15 minutes, physiologically. Now, of course, most people, there's not a feeding station out in the ocean. There's no place to take water, but you'll see pictures in the presentation where the elite open water swimmers simply stick a gel pack in their suit, in their wetsuit, in their technical suit. And when they do that, or in addition to doing that, they prepare the gel pack. They actually pre-cut, or what we do is we pre-cut the gel pack. And so in the course of a swim that's at least an hour, they're swimming, they pull the gel pack from their suit, put the gel pack in the palm of their hand, open up their mouth, and squeeze. One squeeze. So I swim, I grab, I squeeze in my mouth, and I'm done. it should take no more than 1 or 2 seconds. This kind of training can be done in the pool. The second layer is all skills and techniques. The last part is open water acclimatization. Open water acclimatization is if you've only swum in a pool or in a lake and suddenly you have to go to Kona, or you have to go to some seaside resort and do a triathlon, and waves are there, or the water is cold, you have to acclimate your body to do that. In the open water world where we don't have wetsuits, it's a little more difficult because water temperatures can vary. In the triathlon world, you have wetsuits, so water temperature is not necessarily a major point, but certainly body surfing is. I asked our open water or our pool swimmers when they come to the open water, I said, how many of you body surfed before? And some of them who lived on one coast or the other have they have body surfed. But most of the kids in the Midwest have never body surfed. I said, well, if you're going to do an open water swim or triathlon and there's waves, if you don't body surf and your competitor body surfs, then you're going to win. So part of open water acclimatization is water temperature, getting accustomed to water temperature, body surfing, the roughness of the waves, swimming in white caps or when there's heavy surface chop. And the last part, and what I consider the most important, is tactical knowledge. If you're very competitive, you should know everything about your competitor. Does he or she breathe to the left side or the right side? What is the 100-meter time of that athlete? What is the 1,500-meter time of that athlete? And the reason why is, in a race, if I know that my competitor has greater endurance than me, and I'm the better sprinter, then I can position myself at the end of the race to just do a 50-yard sprint as opposed to letting him just take off. So these are just the basic elements of open water SAS. It doesn't include dry land training, nutrition, etc. This is just specific to the open water.